that. Little macro pressure. The top turret is going to go down. Outplayed will secure that one. And so now the decision to be made. James will hold up the turtle here. We'll see if they rotate in or just MP starts it up. So Onyx Philippines might go ahead and look to go ahead and punish this. They take control around the turtle pit. For now, the rest of the team for Twisted Minds will now rotate. Oh, hold on. Rajizi's going to wings by wings out, but Escalera does have the flicker available. They're going to try to cut them off here. Kirk also has to run out there, but Escalera will be spotted out as they face off against this turtle. Calra could also join this fight if he throws in. Once that spear is available, he doesn't have it just yet. So if he just makes his way for the turtle.
Again, a lot of ultimate connecting, but Brusco! What a beautiful setup for King Kong to get that turtle. Kurt running low. MP the King has his eyes on him, but Brusco is the first man down in a double kill for Outplay. This guy has a Sky Piercer.
Yeah, the punish that we were talking about, if you're not careful with this very dive-centric lineup by Onyx Philippines, then the Kimmy's actually going to have a grand old time. And you mentioned it now, 2 stacks onto the Sky Piercer of Outplayed means Onyx Philippines really need to time their entries a little bit better. But at the same time, you have to look at what Twisted Minds did there. James got to enter at the right time to give space for Twisted Minds so that the backline of Onyx Philippines won't be able to respond as well as they could have. Now we're seeing the beauty of pairing up the Kimmy and the Farsi together. Wait!
Ooh! But the combo got interrupted by the Dark Wave of James, and the counter punish of Twisted Minds was there. Brusco is down, but King Kong wants to avenge the death. He takes down Outplayed. James jumps in, but Infernal Pursuit. Super Prince King Kong Keller working on the ultimate fighter, and they bring him down. A 3-kill swing for Onyx.
Man, it looks so good. You know, you stop the combo coming out from Brusco, but then you still get punished for Twisted Minds. And Onyx Philippines gets a lot of value out of that fight. So they're also going to get some turrets now and get in position for the next objective.
Great response by Onyx Philippines. What we thought was a flub eventually turned out better for them. I mean, considering the Keldra did get to hit the Spear of Destruction, and the slight moment of hesitation, though it looked bad for Brusco, just gave enough decision-making time for Super Friends King Kong and Keldra to make the most out of it and walk away with 2 kills.
Yeah, and this is one of the reasons why we see a Kimmy having a hard time against assassin junglers like the Hayabusa, especially the Joy. Because as soon as King Kong is uninterrupted with the electrifying beats, there's no escape, especially if there's no flicker from that Kimmy.
Yeah, it's really difficult to get away from that. And again, for Onyx Philippines, they put themselves a little bit further ahead. Nonetheless, I think it'd be great if Twisted Minds can eventually get that turret down. It's about 1 hit away, the mid turret for Onyx Philippines to open up some of the space to work with. The Lord is up now, though. And Onyx already getting positioned again. They can just park Kelra on the opposite side of the map. Hope that he's able to join with that spear once it's up. But this is the problem too. You're working against a lot of heroes if you're Twisted Minds that just zone out so well. The Jushin here, of course, you got to watch out for Brusco. His flicker's available. Kirk can just take this damage and they can hold the Lord here. Calra's still going to push, but here's the fight.
Going in for James. James has to flicker out, and Brusco again! With a fist break, going to bring down Hajizi. The next target is James. Brusco is going to fall down, but a climb back from Onyx is here. MP the King goes in with a Tempest of Blades, but cannot find a kill there. 4 members from Onyx are still here. Well, meanwhile, Kelra on the bottom lane.
Okay, Kelra spinning down bottom while Onyx Philippines have their eyes set on the Lord.
Oh, no.
They have to stop Kelra. Twisted Minds are going after him with the Moskov is doing his best. He breaks down MP!
No! Hey, he did better than I thought. At least he got 1, but that was all part of the plan as Onyx Philippines gets the Lord.
Kelra! First day of the playoffs already has an amazing play up against 3. Clutch Wind of Nature was able to pin down MP the King, and fortunately for him, MP the King did have his Tempest of Blades.
Yeah, you can see Twisted Minds saw that clip of Eman with what he did as a Moskov 1v3. They were watching their space. That's why Keller had to decide, I can only get 1 here, and he got the best target he could.
Now Kirk trying to soak up the damage. King Kong on the other hand goes in.
No way.
For the flag once again, electrifying beats. Not going to get SOD connects though. As Kelmer jumps in, they were able to take down Escalera. 1 member down for Twisted Minds.
That could have been way worse for Twisted Minds. But they still have to deal with this Lord pushing in. They're down Escalera. The turrets are going to get crashed into. Bottom 1 of the base is already gone. I'm not sure if Onyx Philippines wants to get in a position to end the game here. They might get another turret. Mid's going to be worked on. We'll see what Twisted Minds can do. They try to hold on, try to clear these lanes out, but another turret will fall now in the mid lane.
Yeah. They're utilizing the time that Escalera is still not in the picture, and at the same time, James doesn't have his flicker. So there's no setup here for Twisted Mind, and Keller just cleaning up the map. 3 inhibitor turrets taken down. That's just the first Lord.
Yeah, have a bit of an unsung hero here for the game so far. It's Brusco. He's 2-4-3. We did get to see that one big combo that was clearly the turnaround moment, favoring for Onyx Philippines. That led to them getting the Lord and getting all the towers. But it's how he's just showing up himself in the front line in the siege moments. When they were taking down the towers, he was like, all right, go ahead, throw everything you got on me, bring me down low. I don't care, because I'm just trying to see if I can force a reaction out of you, because with Twisted Minds wanting to damage Brusco, that's an equal threat. Brusco can at any time go in with a fist break, flicker into the fist crack that Twisted Minds has to watch out for. So he's just doing roam things, but very bravely so.
Yeah, and apart from that, the secondary roamer Kirk also, he literally learned from what Escalera did during second turtle, the flicker in ultimate that caught Onyx off guard. That's why this time, every brush that he sees, he's gonna step on it, make sure that there's no initiation angle there for Twisted Minds.
Yeah, the hard part about it is, even when you're looking at these items for both the teams here, like you guys mentioned, Brusco, he's kind of just a distraction, does just pick up a Radiant Armor, so he's able to deal with some of that magic damage a little bit more, because his job is that, like, let me surprise them with my flicker, combinations that are gonna come through with that Bedeng, and then also, like, Kirk, he's a menace too. Like if Brusco already did the main job, Kirk can also go in and clean up alongside King Kong, and Kelra is free to do what he wants and even play around Super Prince. And that's why this composition seems to be working out so well. Both sides though, you could really look at it and be like, all right, both sides, both compositions have a great coverage from all the way from the early game until now even. And even in the damage profile, Outplayed is still having a good game. But he's just got to be able to go ahead and utilize this Kimmy in some of these fights. Now they give up the objective, so we have to look at, all right, how are they on the base defense with this lineup? Are they where they need to be, even though they're, what, 6,000 gold behind?
One of my favorite ways to play MLBB, throw bodies. Honestly, can do that. Once they get to the base with the Lord, as long as their minion waves are good, as they just need one minion wave already threatening into the range of the base, then they can just throw bodies, hero lock, while having one or two heroes trying to just focus down the base. It could be a simple end here for Onyx Philippines. Yes, they'll have to watch out the positioning of the Farsa and the Kimmy, because if they leave those unchecked, yes, it could be incredibly punishing. But again, you can throw either the Badang, the Joy, or the Hilda. Hell, throw all of them just to force the Farsa to get bursted down and the Kimmy to get bursted down, so Onyx can end this. They can end it here.
We'll see if they're going to be able to do it. Lord is in the base now. They're going to hold it down with Fettered Airstrike.
Brusco again, but didn't connect with the ultimate. Now the punish from Twisted Minds. They're going to put down the Bruiser. A mega kill coming in from King Kong though. Kelra locking on the base, and Onyx takes game 1.
Throw bodies.
Throw bodies. That's game 1. All Kelra had to do was like, you guys got it. I'll lock on the base, and it's done like that. Game 1, man. That was quick. That was clean. Quick Onyx Philippines.
Yeah. Back and forth at some moments. Twisted Minds definitely surprising Onyx Philippines at some crucial moments, but in the end, they recovered. They hit their power spikes and they didn't let go right after that Lord.
Apart from that, this could be a bad sign for Twisted Mind, because we all know that when it comes to James, Phobius is one of his main heroes that gets banned out actually, and despite that.
Well, let's see what the panel has to say about game number 1.
Well, one thing's for sure, we did see a very good back and forth in the early to mid game there. Definitely something, it looked like this Minds had something going, but then again, we saw that Onyx that conviction in the game.
It was almost the perfect kind, or the sudden boost in the early game, which we were really looking for in terms of Twisted Minds and their overall execution. It was so close. But Onyx Philippines, what showed in this game was what we always know of them. It's that kind of individualistic start to things where they just try to accomplish what's needed of them, even when they know that the situation's not entirely favorable, and just acting on whatever is in front of them when they know that they already have the right tools to deal with it. And that is exactly what we saw from them. Just the right amount of patience and being consistent. And even when we thought Twisted Minds nearly could have pulled off something even without an unorthodox pick in the bag. It's still Onyx Philippines. It's still the Super family winning this team fight overall.
That's right. Speaking of tools
My
that you
goodness.
can really use, there's King Kong. He's going to be your MVP for this game.
I
And actually really agree with Brenmar. There are a lot of unsung heroes here. Brusco was a huge one.
Yep.
Kellera as well, like as usual, right?
As usual.
It's becoming a very staple for Kellera to just do superhero 1v3 teams.
Yep. But this guy, mind you, felt like he was one of the most quiet guys. Would have already applied the necessary pressure towards especially the late jungle that was in the hands of Twisted Minds. But until that very moment wherein he was able to find that only kill for the majority of the game towards Outplayed, that's where he literally went online, and that's where he was able to open up so many possibilities for his team. And looking at the MVP highlights or the overall highlights of that game, there was tremendous pressure for the first 2 minutes of the game towards Twisted Minds, and that definitely was something you would not want to happen considering that you have a late jungle. But there were moments where in Twisted Minds, they actually had those calls, those right calls, those confident calls, which rewarded them greatly, especially in terms of them somewhat finding a solution to how they were supposed to deal with Onyx Philippines. Those moments wherein they tried to go for Brusco on the early stages of the game actually worked really well for them because they need not worry too much about Kirk when he didn't have enough items just yet, and Keller wasn't entirely part of the picture, and especially those first few team fights which happened. But there was just too much pressure going on all over the map. Once Kirk was able to secure the necessary items, even when Outplayed had such a great time picking up the early 5 kills on this Kimmy, it became so difficult for them to prolong and sustain everything, all the while Onyx Philippines was just constantly working on the macro. And you would think that Twisted Minds could actually do the same, right? They had the Ling, but for some reason Onyx Philippines and the way they're able to manage everything across the map just denies MP the king of all these possibilities.
I guess that denial was huge in making sure that this Ling could not run away with the game. Because if you're talking about, jungle picks, this Ling was one of those picks that can kind of do exactly what a Joy does.
Yep.
Go for that super split push on the other side of the map, and then that will distract the enemy, and that will split up your team fight. We did not see that as much in this game.
Yeah.
That's the biggest surprise here for me.
It always feels like Brusco, whenever he tries to go in for his big crisscross, it's always landed towards MP the King too. Like, for some reason, MP the King gets forced to use the Tempest of Blades, and that's probably one of the biggest problems that they had to undergo as well. You need to have your Tempest of Blades so you could play just as aggressively, so you could just fight back against Onyx Philippines whenever they try to go for something. But the moment that MP the King knows that it's no longer available for him, he could only do so much. He'd have to divert his attention towards other things they could potentially go for. The trades, which we also talked about during the pre-show, but in this scenario, in this game, I mean, look at the number of turrets that were taken down by Twisted Minds. It's only 2. Look at the number of buffs that they were able to secure compared to Onyx Philippines. And objective takes are indeed a huge problem considering that King Kong was just able to perform so well once again in this game. Mind you, we don't even see Kellera here, but Kellera on the Moskov, by the 11-minute mark, he only needed 1 more item to complete his build. And that just goes to show how ahead Onyx Philippines was in terms of playing out this first game of the series.
When you find a game where Kellera doesn't feel like he needs to do as much, he doesn't need to do the heavy lifting, he doesn't need to control the map on his own, that's already a good sign, right? For Onyx Philippines specifically. And that's what I'm talking about. When you talk about tools that the team has at their disposal, King Kong is just a small part of it. If you think about the bigger scale of it, Super Prince has so much mid lane control. Brusco just takes everyone by surprise. Your BPI rich guy is King Kong. He controls the rest of the map. Make sure the enemy can't invade, and then the rest is history. Obviously, Kirk is there to just equalize. And Kellera, he has that. His contribution to the game is, you don't see the stats, right? It's more of like a sixth sense.
Yep. It feels like they had very specific assignments and they were individually able to pull off every single one that was required of them. And now, we will be taking a look, I feel, at other statistics, specifically the item progression, which I feel like is one of the major highlights that we should be looking at in terms of the game. Because if you were to look at how the items were actually progressing for majority of these teams, yes, there was a 6-minute Sky Piercer for Outplayed, and that was highlighted earlier by our casters as well, because it just did so much impact in terms of that one team fight where Twisted Minds was able to gain the advantage. But the moment that Kirk was able to pick up the blade armor himself, and that was around 7 minutes, as you could see here in the item progression graph, it felt like Onyx Philippines just had a go signal. It felt like they just decided all together to just go for the fights. They already have, or they were already able to equip one of their frontliners, their main frontliner even, their main player who was supposed and expected to be just as aggressive all throughout the game, and they were able to find a way to deal with one of their biggest problems, which again was Outplayed. And Outplayed here, we're not going to take away the fact that he did perform really well throughout this game on that Kimmy. There was just this one moment where King Kong was already able to gain access to him, but again, that was a collective call, I feel, for Onyx Philippines, because they were just waiting for that moment where they felt that they already had the necessary tools to deal with what was, or to deal with the problems that were at hand. And for the meta check, let's take a quick look at what we actually have observed from Onyx Philippines throughout the regular season as well. So it feels like in this particular game, give or take, they did secure one of their best performing heroes. They did get to take their hands, or they did get to take the joy, and that was definitely one of the, I'd say, unsung heroes too in this match, which just gave equally massive impact in terms of how they were able to win out the game. And this is just one of the many scenarios that you have to watch out for in terms of Onyx Philippines. I feel like Twisted Minds really drafted so well, and there was so much promise in terms of how they could have pulled off that entire draft. But this is the super family that's literally activated and back in shape.
Yeah, it's a super fam that's trying to cement their legacy with the Joy pick here, with of course the upcoming skin. We all know it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I guess they're trying to show that, you know what, this hero is still one of the best heroes to pick up. It was picked up on the first rotation for the draft, and they were very happy to just insta-lock it almost. And it came to a point where, yeah, that pick really was so crucial, making sure this Kimmy cannot wreak havoc like it destroys my ranked games.
That's already a 7-3 record for King Kong on the Joy. So you should really have to take note, because I feel like that's going to be a problem for Twisted Minds too.
Big problem, yeah.
You don't necessarily take out the Joy in the banning phase anymore, unlike before. Like, there are many other picks you have to consider once you head into the drafting phase, whether it be you on the red side or on the blue side, that you really have to take out. Like, this is Onyx Philippines. Look, I mean, consider the Fanny. Consider the other mages you don't want Super Frizz to get his hands on. The Selena even is there. It's just floating around the room. And Twisted Minds, they just really have to think twice about all their plans moving forward, because it was a good start. It just needs a little bit more push.
Yeah, that's Selena, maybe later. Super Frizz obviously has such a really high pool of heroes, and I feel like when we get to a point where Bonchan we might get to a point where Bonchan is like, guys, do we really want to bring out this hero that we've been practicing for a few weeks? It doesn't feel like it can go toe-to-toe against these specific heroes. And you know what, Brigida, that might be the problem. That might be what's stopping Bonchan from bringing out some crazy stuff. I mean, you could say Link was a bit of a crazy pick. Its win rate is just really bad right now though, right?
Yeah, I mean, we did talk about it though. Like, we are expecting some surprises. Majority probably from the jungler role, and it did happen. Like, first game, first series of the playoffs, it did happen.
Baksha did get banned out, by the way.
It didn't get banned out too. That might also happen, but using that up against Onyx Philippines, they should have expected that it wouldn't be easy pulling it off. And Onyx Philippines really made sure that they definitely would not get their hands on the ideal start, which was a huge requirement for a Ling, by the way, because Dilar earlier, he did mention that they are likely to play for the early game, and that's what they did attempt to do. But once they got shut down, how do they recover from that?
Actually, that statement from Dilar did kind of really happen here. And I guess that's also one of the indicators that, you know what, Onyx, they did their homework. They did their homework very well against a team that everyone is afraid to face because they might become the next Omega. You know, that's what we're seeing, that's what we're hearing. So honestly, for game number 1 at least, I think Onyx really did a spectacular job of just reeling back the craziness that Twisted Minds might give to this game. So I really commend them, and I really hope it doesn't discourage Twisted Minds from bringing out these picks that they've been practicing. I feel like there are more. I feel like we're just getting started.
There should be.
Right? I feel like there's at least 1 or 2 more that we'll see today.
And they have at least 2 more chances
2 more chances.
of doing just that.
Minimum 2 more chances.
Minimum 2 more chances, because if Onyx decides to just ride on the momentum and carry this over to the next few games that we'll be seeing in the series, then it will be very unfortunate for Twisted Minds if ever they do get to encounter a sweep. And that's exactly what they want to avoid, because they were so close. Like, this is probably one of the most decisive versions of Twisted Minds that I've ever seen, so we definitely want to see more of that.
And we have a smart power post though. If this is something you want to see, we are giving away in-game code
Hey!
to our... Wait, that guy is like... Oh my god.
And he has red hair!
Oh my god, that might be King... No, I know, it's not King Kong. I thought it was... he was just pretending, but no, that's not.
Are we really not giving it to him?
We should be giving it to him. We need someone to fight, maybe?
He
This guy
has
kind
red
of looks
hair.
like Super Princess SDZYZ combined in one. Maybe 1v1, there you go.
Hey.
This guy's just too good. Come on, Smart. Come on, it's too good, right? It's too good.
Oh my god.
They're gonna be redeeming in a redeemable get.
There's another...
Is that actually SD? No, it's
No,
not.
that's another red hair.
It's a red hair guy.
Hi.
Red hair guy's in the house.
Oh my god.
Everybody's having some fun with the red hair.
So, is this the King Kong effect?
That might be the King Kong effect.
Is this just how Sigma he is, and is this just how influential he is?
The only thing is that he reverted back to blacks.
Oh yeah.
You know, that was earlier in the season. So either way, congratulations. He also has the Riz.
He
Say
does.
he also has the Riz, so you gotta look at that as well.
By the way, if you do decide to bleach your hair though, and if you go red, and you decide to color it black again, there's no going back. So you need to be very sure. I think this guy can attest to that.
Yes.
You cannot dye your hair black again, and then just, you know.
It's gonna be a journey. It's gonna take you a long time. So, yeah, hopefully you guys are having fun with that first game. And obviously our audience they are having fun. We have the jam-packed day number 1 here, which very rarely happens.
And it's a weekday.
And it's a weekday. It's literally Wednesday. So it's a work day. Everyone took their leaves. Everyone's just so excited to see who is dropping today and who will proceed to our day number 2. But for you guys, of course, you can also just watch at home, play anytime and anywhere with Smart's Powerall 99.
Now with 10 gigabytes for all apps, plus your choice of only Facebook, Messenger, and Instagram, or only TikTok, plus only calls and text to all networks. So if you decide to come visit us here, there's also a Smart booth right outside, you know, so you can check it there.
Of course, and from esports content while you're already online to your favorite Filipino movies, Watch app is here.
Go to watchup.ph and load Video 10 to stream your favorite movies and shows. No apps needed, smart data only.
There you go. And after one game, you gotta watch one stream. Load Video 10 now and hop on to watchup.ph on your phone.
There's so many things you can do once you decide to load that promo,
Oh, 10.
10, and just...
I want to clarify, is that 10 pesos? Hopefully. Maybe 10
I
days.
think it is.
Let's see.
Let's see. You can check it out. Like, come visit us here. I
Do
hope
video
you...
streaming.
Yeah, I hope you do, and I hope you got to secure your tickets because, you know, like, I feel like it's been in demand.
It's so in demand. I swear it's so in demand. I think we sold out like a few hours after.
It feels like a concert ticket
Just like
selling.
concert tickets, right? So yeah, and again, we hope you use those tickets. Go here, and if you don't, there's also an MPL playground at the ground floor of Green Sun Hotel, where they're also holding watch parties. And you can also buy team merch. And there are so many events. There's also performers happening. Like I believe there's going to be a performance from MNL 48 later.
Oh, yeah! I think I saw that.
That's amazing. But you know what else is amazing? MP the King.
Yep.
Despite, losing out game number 1, he has been on a journey, a very storied journey throughout the past few years.
Yep. And I mean, Coach Bonchan, he really made a decision to scout this guy, right? Like after everything that he's been through and he's been able to prove, even at one point, serving as a playing coach, right? If I'm not mistaken. And that was, oh my goodness, that was against Onyx Indonesia. Like at the time they were playing up against that team, he was in that kind of role. So he's been through a lot. MP the King, he was able to experience doing so much. There's been so much responsibility on his shoulders. And it's been an up and down trend for this guy in terms of what he's been able to achieve, be it internationally or locally. But now this is potentially a statement, like he could really solidify like his impact to a team once they get past the play-ins once again. But basing it off game number 1, it's going to be a challenge for Twisted Minds.
And for MP the King specifically, this is as close as he can get to that coveted MPL PH title. It's definitely one of the most difficult titles to achieve in the MLBB scene. I know he has achieved it in other regions already, but if you can ask anyone, like MPL Philippines is, even their high star rank games are like disgustingly difficult.
I mean, just look at Onyx Philippines, right? How many interviews have they been through where they mentioned that they have a harder time playing in the Philippines rather than they do when they play internationally? So that's a statement from the world champions themselves.
That's right.
That just goes to show how competitive it is once they're back in the Philippines. And I feel like the Minds have so much hopes for Twisted Minds, honestly.
For sure.
They're at this point, and now what other plans could they potentially bring to the table?
That's what we're going to have to find out as we go into the draft for game number 2 of Twisted Minds versus Onyx Philippines. We also have Redmar here from the desk to help us out with the draft, specifically with that first one. What did you guys think about that?
Well, I mean, the first draft, I kind of lean with what Delar mentioned, that he was going into that liking the Twisted Minds draft a little bit more. But then again, at the end of the day, execution, Onyx was just better all throughout. So looking back now, it seems like it's the exact same approach. Matilda, Angela, Baksha, yeah. So let's see if we're just going to get like a version 2. However, Twisted Minds has opened up the Harith this time around by taking away the Juicin from Onyx Philippines.
Yep. And although there is still the Phobius though, which earlier Twisted Minds did decide to pick up once they were in the red side.
Yeah.
But I can't entirely say the same for Onyx Philippines. I feel like Kirk wants to go with something similar to the Hilda, really. Like that very aggressive individual playstyle kind of EXP lane.
It kind of serves him very well. It serves the rest of the team very well. 2, they will have a possibility of picking up that Phobius though, which does. Yeah. I mean, it kind of fell off in the last game, but this one, it could be really strong.
Yeah.
Paired with the Joy as well.
Yeah, I agree with what Rockhart mentioned. The Phobius rush doesn't look too crazy for Onyx Philippines. They don't go for it. They are willing to give the Phobius, despite them picking up the Harith. They are dead set on getting the Badang, playing around the flexibility of that hero. So yeah, Twisted Minds can definitely still go for the Phobius here.
Yeah, and my question right now is, Twisted Minds, do they want to go for that exact same route of saving their jungler for later? Because we did suggest the numerous possibilities that were still out there in the first draft. Right now, even, they can choose between the Joy or the Hayabusa if they wanted to.
That's a big open pool there.
And they go for the Hayabusa instead. That takes away the static mid laners. Well, Onyx Philippines will be forced on the more static mid laners.
Oh, yeah.
And then you add range poke into that. I'm liking the draft philosophy here of Twisted Minds, because now they're telling Onyx Philippines our pressure point is Super Fritz. Whatever he picks up, we want to give him a hard time.
I mean, just look at the amount of range and the amount of die that could come in even
Yes.
just by seeing the Kalea and the Hayabusa right now. So you'll have to be extra mindful of whatever hero you are gonna pick if you were Super Prince in this scenario.
It's one of those rare times that we don't see.
What? What?
Ooh.
Wow,
We saw
okay.
MP the Ling in game 1, now we get Ling Kong.
Lincoln.
Hey! Imagine Ling just coming back to the meta after that
everyone having fun
really-
with it.
Yeah, everyone seems to be having so much fun with the Ling so far. So this is an assassin matchup that we're seeing from Twisted Minds. Nothing too crazy so far.
Yeah, I honestly thought the Ling was more of just like, oh yeah, if I'm Fabian and I'm playing it in MPL ID, I'm definitely gonna play the Ling. But maybe it's because did King Kong go to Fabian and go, hey bro, how's Ling in the meta? It's good bang, go play la. And then maybe that's what happened, but it's not just in Indonesia. You're seeing other regions pick up the Ling more, and there's a reason for it.
Yeah, big reasons as well. We can also see that, you know, if you're watching MPL Philippines for a long time, you might think, you know what, MP the King might have been forced into the link earlier. It doesn't feel that way though, right?
Yeah.
And this is just solidifying the importance of the link in the draft. First off, first free picks, it gets shown up for Onyx.
Yep. Right now they're looking at some of the potential pickups that could be taken by Kirk later on. The Battle of the Phobias, there's still a glue also for Onyx Philippines. I feel like that could split up the damage really well and could block off potential attempts from Twisted Minds.
Yeah, it can really survive against. It can also survive against a lot of these picks, these skills that ultimates that we have for Twisted Minds.
Yeah.
Also great against the Granger because you can't really get eliminated right away. So I feel like the glue is a high possibility of a ban.
Yeah, I think Onyx Philippines have their eyes set on picking that up as the 4th pick, if ever, considering that the Hilda's gone, Phobias go, they banned on the Phobias as well. Maybe Glue is going to be their pickup in the 4th, so that Twisted Minds doesn't end up with it. I like the Glue more on the side of Twisted, but I wouldn't be surprised if Onyx just decides to pick it up so that they can just take it away as an option already.
Bit of a counter pick as well. You'll notice the low priority on the Kimmy and the Selena that we were talking about earlier.
Oh my.
Is popping up.
It's Super Prince on the Solida once again, who, if he gets to play very aggressively again in the early stages of the game, I feel like MP the King won't be having that much of a great time either.
Yeah, he's becoming one of those Selena prodigies. So here in this one, again, not gonna be surprised if Kimmy makes an appearance. That might be a little too problematic if that happens. But we will see if they have a very squishy lineup. Hayabusa, even their front line, their tank, Kalea, is not really built to take really a lot of hits.
So there's a Kimmy, there's a Sicilian.
Yeah.
You can't pick up like anything like the Eve anymore if there's a Selena. I mean, you can, but oh, there goes the Glue and Twisted Minds.
Yeah, that is what we mentioned earlier, that the Glue pick looks better for their lineup. Let's see, hopefully no problems arose, as we did get to see James call out the assistance of the Marshals earlier on.
Oh yeah.
We're just waiting to see what the gold lane pickup was from Twisted Minds. If it was able to push through successfully, seems to be that the Marshals now are talking to the coaches. So, yeah, I'm just acknowledging what we're seeing here. Let's see if this is going to be the final lineups.
We're gonna have to wait and see though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll find out how well this is gonna work. If this is the actual last pick, they might be talking and they might have done like a possible read. We might do a possible draft here on that last one if they called it before the pick happened.
Yeah.
So we'll see. And for this one, if Onyx locks in something, we'll see Edith, a very classic for Kurt. So I think they are going for it. They might just go for it here.
Yeah, I
So
think
this
these are
could
the lineups we are definitely pushing through.
Yeah, so here we go. It looks like we are pushing through and the players are getting ready into their form, the raised feet form, where that's just a pro player move. And then we'll also see that everyone seems to be settled as well on the side of Twisted. Feels like we are going into the game here, ladies and gents. and we are gonna see a very interesting lineup here for Twisted. They still have that Faramis combined with the glue this time around. Feels like it is a very sturdy lineup this time.
Yeah. Imagine seeing so many pickups. Like the hero pools we've seen in day number 1, they just even the Edith appearing this early on. I can't wait to see what happens in this game.
As loaded in the game, casters, take it away.
Take it away, we shall. Thank you again to the panelists for breaking it down. And now we're jumping into the Land of Dawn. It's game number 2 of this best of 5 with Twisted Minds looking to even out the series against Onyx Philippines after they took game 1 in a rather clean fashion. Now, we had some questions in the draft. I feel like, you were there too, Renmar. And what was the biggest thing that just kind of maybe brought the question to this composition here?
Well, for the side of Twisted Minds, they decided to go with a lineup that's very all-in. Dive, fight as a team, even though you do have an option to go for a 4-1 split with a Hayabusa, doing essentially what a Link does for the lineup of Onyx Philippines, which is to open up the map and split push. But Onyx Philippines responded to the Faramis very well by picking up the Edith. What we always talked about was if you're going up against a lineup that has a Faramis and likes those longer extended team fights, an Edith is a perfect answer for that, because if you time your Primal Wrath really well, either you take out Faramis's ultimate right away, or just when Twisted Minds thinks, okay, it's cool, we forced out a lot after we use the Nether Realm of the Faramis, suddenly a Primal Wrath from the Edith comes in and it just shakes up Twisted Minds so much.
Yeah, as we can see, like Renmar mentioned, the Edith good when it comes to extended team fights, but apart from that, Super Prince this time rocking the Selena, and we all know whenever Super Prince has the Selena, but wait a minute, no, first blood drawn. Fourth squad of Twisted Minds, they're gonna bring down Kirk, but I think they're still going on. They want to go for Brusco. There comes the Ghost Bursters. Flickers are forced out here, coming in from Brusco, and a kill for Twisted Minds.
Yeah, so surprised that they made a quick play down there, as you're already mentioning, this Edith coming into play for Onyx Philippines. So they handled Kirk, they've got the Flicker out. Super Prince is going to be fine here. Turtle's up though, so that's going to be the focus. And one of the things you were mentioning before that all is, Super Prince on the Selena has been really good throughout the season. We'll see if he's able to lock in those arrows in this game. But so far with Twisted Minds, the way that they're moving, they have to be, focus-centric on playing together. I mean, think about how much utility this lineup gives Twisted Minds throughout the entirety of this game.
Yeah, lots of utility there. Twisted also made the perfect rotation. They wanted to take the Edith out of the picture, especially for that first turtle. That was more an investment into this first turtle, because now Onyx Philippines, it's tough for them to contest this without the Primal Wrath, although Kirk was able to hit level 4.
Escalera goes in, he's already level 4, haven't committed the ult yet, but now they're trying to go for more, and they're gonna bring down Brusco once again. King Kong tries to answer back and gets the turtle, and is gonna escape.
Just waiting for the moment. Oh, he's gonna be able to escape, but they're gonna put pressure here. They have to on this purple buff. King Kong's gonna rely on the team.
It's a 4-man rotation. Here comes the rest of Twisted Minds, though. Kelra from the back with the Salmon Force. MVP King was able to shadow out. Will he go back in time, though? Hachizi already forced out the Nether Realm as Kelra trying to work on James. He's gonna break down the Ultimate Fighter once again.
Perfect rotation. I don't think Twisted Minds expected Kelra to be already there in that purple buff, and that became 5 versus 4 as Twisted Minds might lose more.
Fortunately for King Kong, the Templars of Blades was there despite the Tsunami Slam. He was prepared to clap back and evens out the kill scoreboard 2-2.
And that's why they're known as the Super Fam. Early decisions like that, think about it. Kelra came all the way for that to help, because they knew, okay, we lose this. Brusco wasn't at level 4. They're going to put pressure on the purple buff. We know how important it is when the Link comes into play, that he needs to have that purple buff. And so they have to rely on each other to make that happen, because that's the same thing that Twisted Minds wants to do with this lineup. They're playing around each other down the mid lane.
There's the combo from Escalera connecting onto Kirk. Kirk was able to flicker out, but Brusco managed to turn things around and sacrifice for the bruiser of Onyx Philippines.
Shadow Stampede, perfect by Hajizi, able to get the pullback so that they could at least secure the kill onto Brusco. It forced flickers out of the 2 frontliners, and with Brusco burning his flicker but not escaping, that was a good trade for Twisted Minds. So they were able to make up for their missed call into invading, as MVP King now getting pressured by King Kong. We're getting an anime battle, but it's a stalemate. James is here, 2v1.
2v1 situation here. King Kong, I think he's going to be able to escape though. Already forced out the Tempest of Blade, but Hachizi is in the picture this time, and he's going to be able to escape.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think, at least for game 2, Twisted Mind's doing a great job in this early portion of the game. Just going back and forth. You know, they're trading blows with Onyx Philippines, and that's kind of what they have to do. The lineup lets them do that. And so when you look at Onyx Philippines, how they approach these fights, it's so pick-off-centric at this portion of the game. And it will kind of be that, because again, King Kong can't just jump into the fight. That Tempest of Blades ultimate is so important for him. And now the turtle's up. He's gonna stay bottom side. Arrow's gonna land here. They might just try to force something, but it looks like not. Twisted Minds will get the second turtle. Or third. Wait, second.
Second.
Yeah.
Second.
As expected, Onyx Philippines are now opening up the map as Twisted Minds have gone into their Ube formation. Now just going to be clumping up. This is the strength of their lineup at around the 5-minute mark, around the second turtle. They're going to balance out the push that King Kong did down bottom with the minion waves finishing it off. And now Onyx Philippines might actually be able to fight this in the river if they want to. But Twisted Minds now reading the situation very well. They're like, wait a minute, this doesn't look good for us. All right, let's just back on out.
It's a good choice. Again, it's really just trading blows. They're finding what they can across the map. They know that, I mean, part of this too, think about the previous game where there was pressure across the map with Kalra on the Mozcop, but this time around it's King Kong with this Ling, and we know that that's always something you gotta watch out for. So Twisted Minds wants to get that scaling going. And MP the King's had a rather really good, comfortable start. You know, he hasn't had to do too much. He's building up quite a bit of damage already this point on. So even as the Hayabusa, knowing that you have a Faramis with you lets you be a little more aggressive, I would say, in comparison to, for example, King Kong, where he's really got to choose those fights properly.
Yeah, King Kong's still very fast with the leveling, though. Seems like for the past 2 to 3 minutes, always a level or half a level ahead of MP the King. He's level 11 now. The King level 10. And the gold leaders, of course, King Kong and Kalra, doing good for Onyx Philippines. The main damage leaders of this composition, while outplayed, has had a very comfortable time farming.
Yeah, we almost saw an anime battle down bottom. I believe the 2 junglers already used up their ultimates. And this time, MP the King making sure that King Kong won't be able to just split push and split push for the side of Onyx.
Man, I feel like there'll be a true anime battle if they just, like Ling needs an anime skin eventually. I don't know which one that's going to be. What other collabs are going to come, but hold on.
They're going to commit the Tsunami slam onto Kurt. But Brusco with a beautiful fist break, fist crack once again. Hachizi goes in for the nether realm. Keller just dancing in the middle of everything as everything picks up a kill onto Brusco and to Kurt. King Kong enters the picture now. Outplayed though. Tempest of Blade already cast it.
King Kong able to get away from this. Twisted Mind's going to be continuing the turtle, and Onyx Philippines will have to drop it. The ultimate of the Faramis, the utility of the nether realm for King Kong!
MP the King delivers the final blow! And Twisted Minds! That was a 4-kill swing for them!
They got a whole lot, and they're gonna get more off of it. They take the orange buff as well. It doesn't matter if King Kong's building up the levels, man. If they lose team fights like that, if they can't go and just pick off the right members, I mean, think how much was thrown to even get outplayed, and they just didn't have it. So Onyx Philippines gets checked on that side of the map, and that's not good going into when that Lord does come up in about 1 minute and 20 here.
Yeah, and this is what you actually want from Escalera. Even down to the previous game, the second turtle, he was the one that started things off with a flicker and a Tsunami slam, and this time replicating that, but with Kirk. And a full collapse there for Twisted Mind. Even if Brusco was able to clamp back, though, they lacked the numbers because Prince and King Kong wasn't in the picture.
Yeah, NetherRealm right in time. Keldra looked like he was going to threaten Outplay big time, but Outplay got to flicker out, and Escalera was actually peeling for his Granger. So it was great targeting by Twisted.
Another Tsunami Slam already casted there. Weak Shadow Kill as well. And here comes Kelra. Zaman Force already popped down, plus the NetherRealm. They're going to be able to bring down Hachizi. Outplay picks up one more as Keller will be able to walk away.
Okay, they're holding on to the mid lane. Meanwhile, King Kong pushing on the other side of the map, but the focus here is that mid turret, or at least the pressure from Twisted Minds. They've got a nice little lead at 3,000 up. So Onyx, this is what they do. If they're behind, they look for whatever scraps they can find around the map, put pressure where they can. but so far so good for Twisted Minds. The team fight capability that they have is what's really the advantage for them. The Netherrealm, time and time again, has helped them extend those fights enough, and Escalera is doing a great job at setting things up, even under the turret, like we just saw him do previously. Let's take a look at the items here, how they're falling into place for both teams.
All right, I want to look at the two gold laners, already up to 3 core items for the Granger, whether the Sea Halberd route after the Sky Piercer. While Keller only has 2, but of course the Holy Crystal is a very expensive investment. He does have the Starlium and the Feather of Heaven, so he's good in that regard. You saw that the Harith is getting to the point where you can just brute force Harith it, where it's like 3 versus 1, 4 versus 1. As long as I got my Zaman Force, it's okay. I can try to make things happen, and that's where he is right now in terms of his items.
But for Twisted Mind, the counter of Hajizi with the clutch net to run, but wait a minute, Kark! But still, Tsunami Slam already connected. Brusco goes from the back with a fist break, fist crack combo. Keller being able to free hit. Escalera might be the first man down, but Hajizi again with the clutch net to the realm.
He threw him while he was flying, and Onyx Philippines looks like they're gonna fly.
King
With
Kong.
this battle, King Kong flies into the back, and he wants more, but Epi the King survives.
Used up already the Tempest of Blades, and what a turnaround again for the defending champions.
That little moment just gave them a whole lot. Goodbye, 3,000, 4,000 gold deficit that Onyx Philippines had to work with. And that was what, Kurt, that started it all.
Yeah, that was a split-second delay that favored and turned the tides for Onyx. I mean, Flicker casted, Tsunami Slam already used up, but Kurt was able to use the onward to delay the attack of Twisted Minds.
I thought it would be a moment where Escalera, the animation of the title strike is still gonna lock in, but no, it seems like he just jumped into the arms of the mech of Edith, got thrown on his head, and then suddenly Twisted Minds was like, wait a minute, how did that happen? And Onyx Philippines just took over. That was crazy. I haven't seen that interaction.
Hey, man, they don't call him the Kirk attack for nothing.
Yeah.
That was something that an architect would basically do. They put together perfectly. But now from this point, Lord's going to be worked on. The shield will pop. Tier 2 turret in the mid lane is going to go down, and King Kong will continue to put pressure where he can. So they hold on to base turrets. Twisted Minds is not out of this yet. They do find themselves facing now the deficit 2,000 gold against themselves. Their fighting capability is still good, but you can start to see the pendulum swing in the damage that Onyx Philippines is able to put through, especially how they have to kind of burst through that Netherrealm. They have to deal with Escalera forcing the setups that they've responded really well to in the last couple minutes, especially.
Yeah, I like the discipline that Twisted Minds showed, especially in that last sequence. Of course, I want to assume that they were somewhat rattled a bit by Escalera not being able to complete his initiation with what Kurt did. But at the same time, Twisted Minds backed off at the right time. It could have been much worse for them. They waited for the entry of King Kong. King Kong was even put a bit in the red. That King Kong had to go, all right, I'm going to use my Tempest of Blades, but it's more of like to just deal a bit of poke damage, get out of here, I'm zoning out. Because if he decided to full commit that, he would have been punished instead, and you wouldn't want to lose the Ling in that situation. So Twisted Minds know when to back off. Seems like they've learned from that mistake that they did at the beginning of the game, where they invaded the purple buff, not expecting or respecting Keller being able to rotate down there.
Arrows again. This is where the thing, too, comes in the clutch for Super Prince. The scouting capabilities with the arrows and traps, too. Brusco also played front side, and their turn to go ahead and put pressure on the purple buff here. They still got 20 seconds for the Lord to come up, and they'll go ahead and take that. Now, MP the King, you know, at this point, he hasn't died. He's been able to relatively do well. But when we think about this next objective coming up in 10 seconds, Twisted Minds needs to win that fight to secure themselves some objective and possibly
Di kanan sedikit ada bulok sambil tidak mungkin sebelah kiri.
Connecting his Tsunami Slam, catching Onyx off guard.
So just not let Kirk do that again.
Yeah. If he'd be able to catch up onto Kirk, and he will be able to utilize the Primal Wrath, that would be a good sign, because that means that Hajizi will be able to use a Netherrealm for the Zaman Force of Keller.
I also like the more counter-punch approach that Twisted Minds is going for here, playing around the Netherrealm. Just continue that. They're not completely in the red. It's only 2,000 of a gold lead for Onyx Philippines at this point. They can definitely turn something around.
Spion selang-seling beda lagi
they're
kena.
losing that push up top. They need to send the Hayabusa to push there. So the 4 that's going to be left around the Lord bit have have to do
Langkah,
what they
Wan.
can to make sure that Onyx Philippines can rush, which is they're rushing.
And they try to rush
Biasa
the
tanggal
Lord.
abang kan.
Brusco goes in for the
Mana
delivery
ada
arrow
lagi
as
ya.
well. There's the early engage for Onyx, but Brusco is going to fall down. James leading the charge for Twisted Minds.
Very early for Bruce. Yeah. That was not what they wanted to do. He
40
also
lagi
had
malam
the
ini.
flicker in that. So, Onyx Philippines might adjust it. Even down
Habis
Brusco, looks
wapat,
like they just
naik.
go ahead
Itulah,
and
40
keep the
lagi.
pressure. They know the purple buff's going to be up shortly too.
Itulah dari
King Kong
wapat
will
ke
focus on
naik
that. So
40
this is
lagi.
actually a window of opportunity that Twisted Minds could take advantage of. Oh, narrow.
Oh, they have to play this right though. They cannot bait out the Nether Realm.
King Kong knows he's there. They have the information.
Oh, they're going for it. King Kong from the back. Oh, eliminates MP the King.
2 abyssal arrows from the Monster Mage to completely break and twist the formation of Twisted Minds to set it up for King Kong.
Did I not say Super Prince will provide the vision? And that's, I mean, that whole exchange came from Super Prince scouting them out, giving the information, especially to King Kong, to swoop on in and clean up the kills. And now with that, again, it's a swing in favor for our Philippines. The base turrets are in trouble here for Twisted Minds.
I mean, if you can
Tiba-tiba play
recall
apa,
how
berarti
Super Prince picked
minggu
the
lah
Selena early
habis
in the
mereka.
season, it was actually his decision.
Sedikit.
His recommendation to their coach to let them play the
Nah,
Selena,
ini
and now
kan,
he's showing why he wants to use the
USF
Selena.
My goodness, 2 arrows and
ikut lah
we're
ini.
where we are right
Trial
now. Onyx
USF.
pushing into the base, Twisted Minds losing ground, losing gold. Heartbreaking for Twisted Minds, but for Onyx Philippines, that was just damn good MLBB.
Even in the base. Playing the dodging
Tapi
game,
naman.
just dodging these arrows. The conceal's going to be used. Brusco goes up the front side again. Just
Sama
wants to get
saknya
this
nih, satu
turret
sama
down.
lain.
They still hold on to it though. So Twisted Minds, both turrets one hit away. King Kong will clean up the top one. And now Wave's still pushing in. We'll see if they clear this out completely. This is the discipline that we've seen from Onyx Philippines in the past. Even with a lead like this, they're very calculated. They know they can play around Super Prince. And if they really wanted to force it, Brusco as well, as that flicker is up. But there it is!
Brusco with the combo though, but he's going to fall down. That was well worth the trade. They were able to take down the inhibitor, but they were going for more. Another tsunami slap committed onto Kirk. He was able to cast the ultimate, but he's going to fall down in the hands of Twisted Minds. 2 members down for Onyx.
Let's see if Twisted Minds can get more. King Kong has to run away. 3 members of Onyx left of the map because the map state will not be good for Twisted Minds. Yeah, they can't even get a clean push down the middle of the map. The side lanes are not going to be good despite Onyx Philippines losing 2. They took down all the towers. Let's see if Twisted can
Ada
convert. It's
2
going
yang
to be a
blunder.
difficult
Nggak ada
conversion though.
babang seluruh.
It's like when you saw
Macam
that
gitu kan ada
mentioned
2 yang
what
blunder
Brusco
nak
started doing,
ditolong
he gets
sudah
taken out.
mati kalah.
It's, in a way, you're wondering, is it worth it? Was that worth the fact that Brusco and then eventually Kirk went down? It will be if Twisted Minds can get some of these turrets down, so they will get mid tier 1. They're managing the pushing happening on the other side of the map. This
Objeknya
might be a
dapet
little
mereka.
window
Objektifnya.
for them, a little win, if you will, for Twisted Minds, but they have so much ground to cover, and it still doesn't solve the issue of once this Lord is up, are they actually, is it questionable to say, can they actually go in a team fight against Onyx Philippines?
Yeah, considering the fact that
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
constant pressure
sama
also
tu.
from Onyx to try and divide Twisted Minds.
Yeah.
And they, of course, for Twisted Minds, they want to group
Berapa
up
season
and
dekat
make use
musuh
of
lah
that
kan,
Nether
sedikit.
Realm. So now, Twisted Minds, it's going to take a miracle for them to come back or even just steal away the Lord, because Onyx, they can play this systematically.
Yeah.
We are now in HLG, hella late game.
Kita peringkat
As the
berapa
2
mereka?
gold laners are now barefoot. They both sold their boots, bro. It's all damage items.
Is that a regular abbreviation?
No,
Or-
this is my my addition to the abbreviation dictionary.
All right.
I'm one of the few ones to, send submissions. That's my first one. Hopefully it gets
Okay.
accepted.
Hopefully. Who's the deciding factor of that?
I believe it's Leo
Is
and
it Leo?
Mirko.
Okay.
Mostly Leo, because he's the one who started the whole thing, I
Yeah,
think.
Leo's Mr. Abbreviation, man. Right now, the Lord is up, though.
Minions.
James gonna go in forward.
Okay, Twisted Minds forced to fight. Minions are there for on behind the Brusco again! Connects with a flicker.
Oh,
There's
no.
that combo to bring down James. The arrow connects onto Escalera. King Kong just playing with his prey. Forced out the Nether Realm. Tempest and Blades will connect. Kelver from the back as well. They're just bringing down bodies for the side of Twisted Minds. And the 4-kill swing for Onyx. MP the King trying to delay, but Onyx says 2-0.
GG.
Man, Onyx Onyx Philippines, even when they're trying to chase down the members of Twisted Minds, it was so systematic. There's always an abyssal arrow flying into the back, threatening the back line. The members of Onyx PH just going forward. That was crazy.
That was crazy, and I know the panel's going to highlight that too, because the way that Super Prince was playing those angles and just throwing out those arrows at the end were perfect. Again, a dominant, strong game for Onyx Philippines. Let's see what the panel has to say about this one.
You know what? They're right. They do be crazy. That was super crazy for me. We get to that point where it was just beautiful to watch Onyx Philippines. It felt like they were like pinstering their opponent in that last one.
Oh my
Super
goodness.
Prince could do no wrong in this game.
And to think that we didn't see much from him during the
Selena
first few minutes of
counter.
the game. But towards the latter portions of the game, it felt like he has
Good,
been
good.
the highlight of majority of the plays which took place, especially towards the HLG as mentioned.
HLG.
I personally am
like it.
approving the HLG, although I am not part of the approving committee.
Yes.
It's
Okay,
so great.
Glenn.
And that was a surprise for us because, again, Twisted Minds had such great hold of the first few minutes of the game.
It was actually really fun to watch.
tengok
For
highlight
me, personally seeing the back and forth at
Yeah.
before, you know, it was a Faramis lineup trying very hard to ube it up
Yeah.
as much as they could. Try to withstand that onslaught, but in the end, Kelra really came out on top with that MVP. His Harris really shone and really gave the damage that Onyx needed to close out that game.
Yeah, honestly, Keller felt like he went unnoticed for majority of the game, and until that one moment where they had a team fight where he was just too free to deal the damage, it felt like Kellera served as a great way for Onyx to save a lot of the unsuccessful attempts that were done by, let's say, Brusco. Because we can't
Azan, bro,
count out
Azan.
the fact that there were some fist cat combos which were either too early or which put them in a slightly dangerous position, but to consider that there is still Kellera with the Zaman Force that's readily available to at least provide the damage during those scenarios, you still can't fully commit even as Twisted Minds.
You were saying, word for word, Brigada said earlier there was so much gigil from Cusco, and I think that is correct. We did see a lot of that. And then again, that might be the reason why they pick up this Badam.
Yep.
They want to give them that scenario. Maybe the call from them was like, okay, Brusco, just keep throwing out those fist break, fist crack combos. We got you, win or lose. That's what happened. It worked out very well for them in the end.
It felt like Brusco
Dua
had
yang
to
blunder,
do those
mundur.
sacrificial plays
Yes.
willingly because it'll either way reward
Tidak
them
konyol.
in the end. So now they're able to actually redeem themselves, as we're seeing in some of these MVP highlights again, because this was, I feel, the final sequence before the game actually was ended there by Onyx Philippines. And if we are to look at it right now, it actually lasted up until nearly 20 minutes. So that just goes to show how well Onyx Philippines were able to hold everything out. And this
Gagil,
was a
gagil.
slightly different composition compared to what they decided to field in game number one. It's not Kirk on the Hilda, which was the one ideally starting things out or providing the information that was necessary for Onyx Philippines to decide on
Okay.
whether or not they wanted to go for this or that. It
Yes.
was Kirk on an Edith, who was more of an additional layer of damage, some sort of deny towards
Oh.
Twisted Minds whenever they wanted to go for the aggressive plays, but it was what
Game
Super Prince was
pertama,
doing all along. Like in the
antara
early
Twist
stages of the game, we don't
dan
get to see
Onyx
all those
PH.
flashy abyssal arrows
Memenangkan
connecting
Onyx
towards the members of Twisted
2-0.
Minds. It's because he had to do
Kita stop
much
dulu
more than that. He
untuk
was the
lanjut
one
di match
serving as the
kedua.
vision, as the person providing all the vision here for Twisted Minds. So even with the presence of a Kalea, even with all those potential surprise setups from Escalera, by the way, we
Oke,
didn't
oke.
get to see a
Sampai
lot
jumpa
of
di
them.
match kedua.
And there were multiple
kasih,
times
jangan lupa
or
subscribe,
instances,
subscribe.
however, where Twisted Minds definitely they were on a roll. MP the King, he felt unstoppable on the Hayabusa, even trying to hunt down King Kong all by himself. But that's just Onyx Philippines really
Untuk
playing it
sementara
safe,
ini
waiting for the right
Zilong
timings
tidak
all
live.
over again.
And this is proof as well that, you know
Main
what, the link can really
cuma
work.
lihat
Yeah.
As long as you can
MPL
kind of just
aja.
give it a mission.
Oh
Not
my God.
like the,
HP
not
tidak
like the
kuat.
super carry link.
Not the super
Tapi
carry.
kan
In this
panas
specific
sih.
game, it was King Kong just
Doain semoga bisa
absorbing
live lagi.
the attention of Twisted
Zhilong
Minds,
berkeliaran.
going into their jungle non-stop.
Oke
He was a
semua.
team player.
Jangan
Kind of
lupa
player in this
subscribe.
game. Like, I mean, that 15-minute mark highlight,
Nanti
if you
kita
haven't,
lanjut di next
please
ya.
check it out. Bring it back to the 15-minute mark of the game wherein King Kong was just able to look for both MP and Haji, who was just
Belum
trying
loh.
to go home. Everyone was screaming at that point, and he's the only one we're seeing here as the rich guy amongst the other members of Twisted Minds. Because again, for majority of the game, it felt like Twisted Minds had it under control, but this guy, you barely notice it, but on the Ling, he was still able to keep that turbo farming pattern you were talking about in the case to victory earlier.
Yeah, it's scary that he can keep doing that in a hero that doesn't really see a lot of attention, especially here in MPL Philippines. So he's able to do that in, it's not like a 5v1 King Kong wins. It's a King Kong do this specific set of tasks for us to win.
Yeah. And he did not have to worry about his other teammates because they did their jobs too really, really well. And I feel like we also have to dive a little deeper onto the other aspects of which took